we get the scale for A major. So what we're going to do is we're going to assign numbers. So A is going to be our root note. C sharp is going to be our third note. And E is going to be our fifth note. And that's how you figure out the triad for A major. This is technically a chord, believe it or not. It's called an A5 or a power chord. That's an A5 power chord. And you add another A. So I'm just playing the second fret, third and fourth strings, and the fifth string. So fifth, fourth, and third strings. Watch what happens when we incorporate that third interval, which is C sharp. I'm playing the fifth string to the second string, not playing the first or sixth strings at all. That's just an easy four-note chord, and pay really close attention to that C sharp, the second interval, because you're going to notice that it's only going to appear one time and one time only. And now we're going to incorporate that E, and it's just going to add a whole new richness to it. So we're using the root note A twice, we're using the fifth twice, and we're using the third interval, which is C sharp, one time. That with this three-note formation, that's how you're going to form every major chord off of the fifth string. Now things are going to change. We're starting the note series with B flat. That's technically a chord. It's a B flat 5 power chord. It's only using the first root note, and it's using the fifth interval. And that is technically a chord. But also, you can do like you did on the last one and add that second B flat, because why not? It's not any harder. And if you want to do it with, just two fingers, you can do it with just two fingers. And that's technically a B flat major 5 power chord. That's where the D comes in. And it comes in as our third interval. Then we're going to move to B major, B and F sharp. And that's technically a B5 power chord. You can get classy with it and add that root twice. And then when you add that, that third interval, add that F sharp in there. That is how most people actually do make a B major chord. It's one of the only chords you can't really play open. So then we're going to move on to C major, which is the 1, 3, 5 is C, E, and G. And again, you can make this as a power chord if you want to, just a 2-note power chord starting on the 3rd fret. Like I said, the 3rd fret is C, so we can also add that second C. And that is still a correct C5 power chord. Now, once you add E and the second G, then we're going to move on to C sharp. If you just look at the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes of that scale, that's the triad for C sharp major, which is C sharp, F, and G. So if you wanted to play that as a power chord, just remember C sharp is at the 4th fret, 5th string, 4th fret. It's a really important chord to learn because it's used a lot more than you would think it is. And you can play just the root and the 5th if you want to, or you can class it up and play the root twice. You can just play those 4 notes. That's a C sharp major. And then, why not add C sharp? Then we're going to move to D major. D major can be made a lot of different ways, but you'd not believe how often D is used in anything. So the triad, is D, F sharp, and A, which is easy enough. And again, we're just going to start at the 5th fret. And once you know that the 1st fret or 3rd fret on the 5th string is C, D is going to come natural. I mean, how much easier is it really to just add that extra root note. And then add that F sharp. And then there's D sharp major. This is the last chord I'm going to show you in this video because I'm going to show you E in a different video in part 2. D sharp major can be played as a power chord, 6th fret, because you're playing the 1st and 5th, or add that other 5th in there. And then of course you're going to add G, and that's going to make the D sharp major. Then yeah, add that other one there, the B flat. When you learn A through D sharp, you can continue on down with E. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it to support the channel, and subscribe to it so you'll be the first one to be notified before any new content gets uploaded. For real, I won't tell anybody else. You'll be the first person to know about it if you hit the subscribe button. Also, not a lot of people know this, but every slide I use in any video or any presentation I do is going to be available for download for free in the description, and you can also download the first chapter of the book for free. It's also in the description.